Welcome, Isaac Gatutschi. Enjoy the evening.
We're going to go way back, not way back, but I guess back when I was in high school, I remember thinking, you know, photos are actually just a waste of storage space. Like, you could just remember those with your head. And I really loved music. I loved playing guitar. I loved singing. I was actually in choir for 9 years, and that was my passion. It's just very ironic because of where I am now. Basically, after high school, I moved to Seattle. I had a couple jobs in Seattle. I was working at a Guitar Center and a shoe store, and during this time, I was trying to go to school. I really wanted to go to school for computer science because I knew music just wasn't realistic at all. The music industry is crazy, and it's just not realistic as far as a career. And so my main form of transportation while I was in Seattle was a motorcycle. And I remember I was coming back to Sequim. I was on my way to go visit my buddy who just got back from Germany from studying abroad, and I got into a motorcycle accident. There was a truck in front of me, and I was passing the truck, and at the same exact time, there was another truck that pulled out, turning left, and I clipped the rear end of the truck. I flew 30 feet into a chain link fence, and I was conscious the whole time. I remember taking off my helmet, and this was crazy. Like, the body is so incredible that I didn't feel a thing. Adrenaline was just pumping through my veins, and I remember taking off my helmet and first looking back at my bike and thinking, oh my gosh, like, no, why did that happen? And then I was like, okay, maybe I should like check to make sure I'm okay as well. And then I took off my glove because I saw some blood on my hand, and my finger was just dangling. And I'm like, oh no, that's not supposed to be like that. And so yeah, I still didn't feel anything. I had a leather jacket on, thank God, because it was completely just like torn up, and that could have been my skin, so I was really thankful for that. I could have actually died. So basically, I got rushed off to the hospital. They took me in for x-rays. They didn't give me any pain meds because they wanted me to x-ray very specific spots that hurt the most on me. So in the ambulance, the pain started coming to me, and I'm like, oh my goodness. My whole body was just incredibly sore, and so they x-rayed everything. I was really fortunate. The only injuries I had was my finger, obviously, that was barely holding on. I had to get a pin through that, and then 2 pins through my thumb, and my knee was also cut down to the bone. So that was basically my whole hospital visit. After I got released from the hospital, I had to go back and live with my parents. So coming from a very independent, you know, I moved to Seattle. I got a job there. I'm established, and like I was 21 at the time, so I was starting my adult life, and I just remember thinking, we just completely reversed this whole entire situation, and I'm back to square one. Basically, like at the time, I was being a little bit dramatic, but I thought my life was kind of over. Both my hands were completely bandaged up, so I couldn't eat, I couldn't shower, when you have your hands bandaged up, you definitely get very humbled because there's not very much you can do. And so I was very thankful my parents took me in, but at the same time I was thinking, I lost my job, both my jobs, I lost my opportunity to go to school, and I lost my apartment in Seattle, and now I'm back living with my parents. And on top of it, I love playing guitar. So now that my hands are bandaged up, I can't play guitar anymore. And so I was at a very, very deep low. Basically, I kind of like lost motivation. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna do now. Like, my opportunity to go to school is gone. Like, all just reversed. And I remember one day after I was healing, you know, there was some people that came to visit me. And I remember just like everyone being very positive and saying, like, you know, like you're gonna be good. Like there's something good that's gonna come out of this. And basically, my mom, who's here tonight, thanks for the support, Mom. She suggested that I would try to take pictures with her old DSLR that she rarely used. And at first I'm like, no, Mom, like my hands are bandaged. Like, what are you thinking? And then eventually I did give in. I tried it out, and she's like, here, you can just balance the camera on your bandages, and like I actually had two exposed fingers, so I could push the shutter with my exposed finger. And so the first thing I did was just go out into the yard and I would shoot things that I thought were beautiful. And then that kind of turned into me being like, okay, this is really interesting. Like, you know, it's not guitar or like music or anything, but it's creative and it's something to do. You know, like I was just bored out of my mind at my parents' house. So yeah, I started going on hikes, and then I would start taking pictures of nature and like people in nature, and would go on hikes with my friends, and I'd be like, hey, can you stand here and I'll take this picture? And then I'm like, well, maybe I should start posting stuff on social media. So I started posting on Instagram and Facebook, and then it was like the most bizarre thing when somebody asked me, hey, how much do you charge? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just having fun. This is just a hobby for me, you know? Like, and they were like, will you take my senior photos? It was a senior in college, and I'm like, I guess, yeah, like maybe like 20, 50 bucks, I don't know, like sure. And then, so I ended up taking her pictures, and she loved them. And then turns out she told her friends, and I posted on Facebook and tagged, you know how that works. It's a snowball effect. And I remember one of the most incredible days of my working life as a young adult was when I was working at a restaurant in Sequim, and I had to put in my 2 weeks notice because I got so busy taking pictures. And everybody was referring me, and I'm like, this is unreal, and I can't work here anymore. Yes, like I was so happy because both my parents are self-employed, and it never really felt quite right, you know, working for somebody else, and it just yeah, people started hiring me, and it was just absolutely incredible. Within, let's see, the first month, I actually had a photo of mine posted on a billboard going down I-5 near Seattle. That was the first month of being in business. And then a couple months after that, I got a shoot in New York for New York Life. I was shooting an assistant for another photographer that I know, doing like this insanely huge like production shoot. It was like a $350,000 shoot for 2 days. I was like, this is crazy. Like, what is happening? And within like these small amount of time, I've just been like, I remember being so humbled and just like sitting like in my car and just thinking, wow, like tears just coming down my face, thinking this is so incredibly good. Like, how is this even me, you know? So, that being said, I basically want to leave that story just letting you guys know that I truly believe like everybody is born with a gift that they operate in, and I really believe that some people discover it. Like for me, it kind of came into my life, and I was thinking about it like, I don't know where I would be if I decided, no, you know, I don't want to take pictures, Mom, or like, that's a dumb idea. I have no idea where I would be, but I know where I am now, and that just like brings a lot of encouragement to me and to tell my story to people as well. So yes, and then the second thing is, yeah, so much good can come out of a really dark and dim situation in your life. So you never know what's kind of around the corner from that. So yes, that's my story. So I kind of wanted to take you through some pictures from my portfolio, just so you can kind of see some of my work and some of the behind the scenes for that. Yes, so.
Can you turn the lights off so you guys get a better?
My mom has suggestions. Shane?
Sorry. It just doesn't look the same. See the difference?
Thanks, Mom. All right. So this first shot, this was really cool. This was shot actually on my birthday a couple years ago. I remember this particular lookout. It's a hike called High Rock Lookout. And right when we got there, it was crazy because we showed up to the parking lot and the whole entire parking lot is just like socked in. There was like, you could see 30 feet in front of you. And we were like, okay, we're here. It took like 3.5 hours to get there. So we're like, I guess we can hike it. Yeah, let's go for it. So we started hiking. We're going and like nothing's changing. We're like, okay, we're hiking up in the snow like miles and like hoping for something. We timed it right about sunset. So we were like, okay, well, I guess we'll just get to the top and it'll be completely fogged in. Right when we were getting to that lookout, the light just started like coming, like pulsing in and out, in and out. And I remember just like very slowly, the clouds were like fading away and brought this incredible sunset for my birthday. So I was really stoked for that shot. And that's a drone shot. And I was flying legally, by the way. It's not a national park, don't worry.
Is that a little cabin?
Yes, so that's a fire lookout. So back in the day, they actually used a lot of these different lookouts to look out for fires before there was the technology that we have today. So this next one, there's a bit of a story behind this one as well. So my girlfriend at the time, Brittany, which is my wife now, when I was starting out, a lot of times she was my model in these pictures that I took. My favorite thing to shoot is people and landscapes. And what we wanted to do is for this trip, we were going to Iceland. And I was like, how cool would it be if, we bought this dress and you'd get dressed up in this red dress and have like, some crazy waterfall or like some crazy glacier in the background. So, and there's a little bit more on that in a slide later, but this is one of the pretty unique shots that I got in Iceland. All right, so this next shot is a drone still. This was shot in Port Angeles. This is the Elwha Bridge right after, when you turn right on 112. You see that I really liked this because I was out, I had a job out there, and I remember like passing this and be like, whoa, like that looks ridiculous. Like the sun was coming and like hitting the snow on one side and making it nice and kind of warm tones, and then on the other side it hadn't hit it at all. So it was really like cool and the fresh snow on the trees, and I thought, I need to stop. I need to be late for my shoot to get this shot, so that was that. And this next one, so this one, I would say, as far as people probably know me the most for this shot. This one kind of went viral. There's a few people that shared it, and it just kept on like snowballing. So this is a shot of my brother and his fiance at the time. This is a bridge that is down in Shelton, and I found it. There was one photographer that posted this picture, or not this picture, but another picture. I'm like, I need to find this bridge, and so one day actually I found it, and we went to do a photo shoot there. And this is actually not a drone shot. A lot of people think it is, but what I did is my brother suggested, hey, like I'll lean at the edge, totally his idea, and you can get a shot of like the water down. So what I did is I shot it with a 14 millimeter, which is like ultra wide, and I just went on my tippy toes and just shot it that way. So yeah. So this shot, this was shot in East Java, in Indonesia, and I remember this waterfall was like way out in the middle of nowhere, and one of the memories that I have with this one is, it's pretty funny. Every once in a while when you travel, I feel like there's some people that get some anxiety. When we were in this city in East Java, I kid you not, there was probably, out of like everyone in the city, there might have been a few people that spoke English, and I was relying off of an app on my phone, like a translator app off my phone, just to communicate and get to like point A to point B. And then I remember we had to eat lunch because like it was lunchtime, and there was nothing like in sight, like no McDonald's, no anything. And we're like, we found this one spot that was like very like just super random, and I had a burger there which could have been a cat or a dog. I don't know. But yeah, Brittany actually chose to skip lunch that day. So yeah, it was pretty good though. I mean, it wasn't bad. This is another shot. This was shot on a tripod in Bali. And excuse me, I saw this infinity pool from a few other photographers that I've followed on social media, and I remember thinking like, how cool is this like pool that like literally goes out into like the heavens or like going out into the sky, and I'm like, we gotta go here for one of the nights. So yeah, we decided to go and get a shot there. But yeah, this was a sunset, I believe, and all of a sudden the sky just started looking like that, and I'm like, okay, we need to set up the tripod and get a quick shot. So I decided to model, one of the rare times I modeled with Britt. All right, so this shot, excuse me, this shot is in Colorado. I took a trip a few years ago with a few other photographers, and we decided to go while the aspens are turning that really beautiful orange color. And after you go down a very gnarly, pretty steep, few-mile road, you end up at this really beautiful scene where there's a mill just coming down with the water like that. And yeah, I just love it. I love the snow in the mountains and the fall colors and the sun coming through. It's just, I think it's just a really, really cool composition kind of photo. This is a shot of me and Britt. Britt and I, we were in Maui, and it was like absolutely perfect conditions. There was a new moon, there was very little light pollution. We drove way out to some lava fields, and we held very still for about 25 seconds, and got this really cool shot of the Milky Way and our silhouettes. All right, this shot was a shot up in the National Forest. This was. It looks a little bit odd on the projector, but it looks better on the computer. Basically what I did is I stuck an LED light on the bottom of my drone, and I programmed it to circle around. So I had it just circling around, and then I shot a long exposure shot so that it would kind of capture the light in the sensor going around in circle, and it did end up making a perfect circle for one of the exposures. So yeah. That's the Olympics in the background. So this was a very important shot for me. Like I was saying earlier in a previous slide, we were going through Iceland, and little did she know that one of the shots that I was gonna set up, I set up a tripod, and while she was out there, she was facing away, and I was basically like, okay, we're gonna do another shoot here, like get your dress on. It was also freezing cold if you didn't notice my parka. She was very willing. I'll totally give her that. So she faced away, and I'm like, okay, this is so incredibly beautiful. Like in my head, I was playing this for like a solid, I don't know, a year or something. I'm like, okay, she's gonna wear a dress, she's gonna look great. I'm gonna propose to her while she doesn't even know. And yeah, so I wrote out this huge thing, set up my tripod, had my intervalometer set to take a picture every second, and I went along and like tapped her on the shoulder, and she's like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's freezing out, take the picture. And then basically I was like, hey, I need to talk to you. I totally lost everything I was gonna say. It was really beautiful, but like, so do you wanna marry me? And she said yes, so it was a success. But yeah, that photo is a very important one to me, and that's in Iceland near Vik. All right, so this is a couple different opportunities I've had. That is the billboard on I-5. A few months within starting a business, or probably about a year, I actually got Goodyear Tires somehow found me, and through an ad agency, they licensed a couple photos of mine as well. Cosmopolitan shared the proposal pictures that we did. Ashton Kutcher shared that photo of my brother, and then there was a few. The Washington State Trails, I won the first place for their contest that they had, And then the lefties also, I licensed a few photos to Port Angeles Tourism, and they put some pictures of mine on a bus, which is pretty cool to see. And then the last one, Alnylam Pharmaceuticals. This was kind of a dream job for me. There was an ad agency that was looking online and found me, and I did like this big commercial shoot at Lake Sutherland a few years ago, and they got models from Los Angeles, they flew them up, and I was doing photo and video for an ad campaign for them at Lake Sutherland and some surrounding spots. It was a 2-day shoot, and it was just incredible because they just set me free. They're like, we love your work, like here's the models, this is our vision, and you do you. So it was a really incredible thing. There were about maybe 15, 20 people involved, creative directors and all the fancy stuff like that. So that was just a really cool opportunity. And next is a few videos that I want to share with you guys, just of some drone work that I've done. That's, yeah. Shots were actually with one I built. High risk, I know. So that's a waterfall, so we're going straight down, basically. Some droplets. Knock on wood, I've never lost a drone so far, so almost happened. And this is underneath the Elwha Bridge in Port Angeles. That's a Palo Alto. Yeah, so that was some FPV footage.
Don't you know
This next one's all in Indonesia.
good for you? I've learned to lose, you can't afford to. Tore my shirt to stop you bleeding, but nothing ever stops you leaving.
Oh, and shout out to Noel Johnson for the soundtrack, too.
Crying when I'm coming home.
Very talented.
I'm on my own. Like it, like, say I like it like that, like it like that. Like it, like, say I like it like that, like it like that. Don't you know too much already? I'll only hurt you if you let me. Call me friend, but keep me closer. I'll call you when the party's over. Quiet when
Yeah, so that was Bali in Indonesia. This was kind of interesting. This is the first time I was flying FPV at night for the 4th of July, so I hope you enjoy. Yeah, so that was shot at Lake Sutherland. This is High Rock Lookout in the summer. This drone, I was actually at the lookout and I have goggles on so I can see first person, which is FPV, what the drone sees. So you basically become a bird and it feels, it's such a rush. It feels like you are actually the drone. And so it makes you feel like a bird or like Superman and you're just cruising around. It's very exhilarating. If I lost my drone that day, there would be no getting it back. I'm ready to fall. You can barely see rain here, right? That's me. I'm ready to fall. All these ghosts. And one last one for you. This was shot up near in the Olympic, National Forest up Palo Alto. It was just like an incredibly beautiful sunset. Yeah, so for this next part, this, we probably will need the lights on for this. I'm actually going to be doing a live FPV demo. I built this one. It's called like a Cinewhoop. that has these ducts around the edges, so it's very safe, don't worry. Yeah, hopefully I don't crash. That would be good. So yeah, I'm gonna be putting on goggles, controlling it right here, and then there's gonna be a live feed that you guys will be able to see from the screens. So yeah, wish me luck.
Wish us luck.
Yeah, exactly. I'll try to stay away from humans as much as possible.
He's very good at it.
And don't move.
Yes. Stay seated the whole ride, please.
That's where his daughter is. She's hiding. She knows her dad.
I'm flying the drone in the house again. She's very used to that. There we go, I didn't crash. Yes. So yeah, that's FPV.
Look at your feet.
I know. So yeah, it's very, very entertaining. It's a rush. It feels like you're in the drone, but you can also get really smooth, entertaining, kind of unique footage with these little guys. I can fly through houses or go through very small spaces, and it just makes it for a very interesting look. So yeah, I believe that concludes my presentation. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoyed it. Yes?
Could you show and explain the other drone just
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess that's technically questions and answers. Great question, Martin. So this drone, this is like a DJI Mavic 3. This is very, very simple to fly. You basically, if you let go of the sticks, it just will hover there and keep its position because it has GPS. It has a bunch of different sensors, like 8 sensors, vision positioning sensors, where it'll just sit there. It has a gimbal to keep everything very steady, very easy to fly. Trees is usually what is a problem for a lot of people. But yes, so that is the Mavic. It's really great for very steady, very still shots. And then you have this one, which is like an FPV. This is considered a 5-inch. This one, I didn't build this one, but I built a few that are just like it. I added some things on it, like a GPS and a beeper and whatnot. But this is a drone that's like this one, except for this one's much more intimidating. This one can go like 100 miles an hour. It's very fast. It can chase like cars or dirt bikes, or much more nimble and great in the wind. But for people, not as much. This could hurt if something happened. But yeah, Kathy.
How do you know when your drone's getting too far away?
Yeah, that can actually be a really big issue. So with this drone right here, the Mavic, you have all the telemetry on your screen. There's a ton of sensors in there. It's ridiculous. So you can actually have a return to home programmed in. So the drone knows where you took off, and for some reason, if you get disconnected, it will come back and land within like a foot. It's incredible technology. This one, you don't. If it's windy out or like you lost where you're at, you couldn't come back with this one. The other one, I actually added a GPS module to where it does come back, but it like will come back and crash. So it's like, it's much more, not as sophisticated as the Mavic, but it's supposed to work. I've tested it a couple times and it mostly works. But yeah, you have to have very good situational awareness because if it's windy or like you're in a place that you don't recognize, you can get lost and you have no idea where home is. So like what I usually try to do is if I'm somewhere foreign, I'll fly up and then like kind of just take a 360 of my surroundings just so I'm like, okay. Or I'll be somewhere that's very obvious. And usually you get the best signal if you are somewhere higher elevation from like trees or whatnot. So great question though. Yes?
What's the learning curve on those 3?
Yeah, so it's a little bit discouraging. I spent 40 hours on a simulator before I even tried to fly these ones in real life. It's extremely hard. I'll just say that. It takes a lot of practice. You can totally do it. You have to have some coordination. The thing is, the controls are just incredibly sensitive. So like on the Mavic, which is much easier to fly, I can go like, full throttle going forward and it'll go like, pretty steady forward. But with this, if I go full throttle, that's like 100 miles an hour like into the wall. Or like if you turn, it'll do a full 360 in like a second. Like it's incredibly sensitive and fast, which is great for if you need to be somewhere very specific or like, shoot a gap. That's the other thing too, the latency, it's like 30 milliseconds. So it's extremely fast transmission, which you just don't get with the Mavic. So they're two different genres of drones for two different type of filming. So yeah.
Which would you recommend for getting the deer out of the garden?
Whichever one you have the most fun with, I suppose. If it was me, for sure, these ones. These are a blast. What's great is I can sit in my bedroom, like I could be in my PJs, just like chasing the kids around. It's pretty entertaining, I would say. But yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Now, are they all set up with GoPros, or do you have other?
Yeah, so these particular ones, I do use GoPros on them, which is positive and negative. Basically, the positive part is I can upgrade to the newest GoPro, so image quality doesn't actually stay with the drone, versus the Mavic, it has its own built-in camera. The caveat with that is you don't have full control over the cameras in real time, so I have to like look at the GoPro settings, make sure that all the settings are right, like the white balance, shutter speed, all of that is correct, then push record, and then get it back, and like hopefully it does it. Versus that, I have like live feed with all the settings, and I can change them in camera very easily. So that's basically the difference. But yes, I usually put GoPros on the FPV drones. Yep. Yes.
I have a question that's shifting from the drones a little
Yeah.
bit, and maybe put you on the spot. I'm sorry if that's the case.
It's
but
all right.
With the experience you have in shooting so many landscapes and getting such incredible footage and photos, I'd love to hear like some of your tips. Like, again, putting you on the spot, but some of the best tips that come to your mind that you've collected over the years of shooting.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. And this is subjective, but in my own experience, a lot of times, like I'll have like an idea in my head, and like I'll like think about it really hard, and I'll plan it out and be like, okay, with this specific spot in this area, like if she's here, blah blah blah, and then like I'll go out and do that, and it's great, and like it's a pretty good picture, but the majority of the times, it's almost been where I'm in a situation and I'm like, wow, like this is incredible, like click, and just knowing when. Because like with digital cameras, it's not like film. It's not like okay, click, like that was a bunch of effort. This is gonna cost a lot of money. With digital, you can be clicking everywhere. And so for me, I feel like some of my best stuff personally has been spontaneous, stuff that's not planned, things that are just like wow, like that was absolutely ridiculous. Or like knowing where to go, like if you step off the path slightly to get a little bit different angle, I feel like that can be very rewarding in my opinion. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Just being ready, it sounds like.
Yeah, just be ready, exactly. Like that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, the best camera is the camera you have with you, which phones nowadays are incredible, but yeah, just be ready for that time and know when that is. So, yes.
How much of your work are you doing still, and how much are you doing video, and how are you spreading your professional time out?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, this past year I shot, my source of income come in 3 different main areas. I work for about 80 realtors in this area shooting real estate for listings. I shoot weddings seasonally in the summer, and then I also shoot for small and large businesses, just doing advertisement. So basically, what was interesting is for weddings, I only shot 2 weddings that were for photography, and everything else has been for video. So video is ramping up quite a bit. For real estate, definitely more photos, although video is becoming more popular. It's a little bit harder to convince old school realtors around here to do more video, but it's working, I'm trying. So yeah, it's, I would say, it's kind of 50-50, which is great for me because sometimes I'll get bored of video because I shoot so much of that. So I'll be like, oh, I want to do some photos, and then it goes back and forth. So yeah. Did you have a question, Kathy?
You know, sometimes you get so much material, it's what you pare away that's really important. So do you spend hours and hours editing?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's probably one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is just how much time you do spend in front of a computer. And I've noticed the more and more I do shoot, I have been a lot more conscious and very deliberate with the type of things I do shoot. Because I used to shoot weddings and be like, 5,000 photos, and I'm like, wow, this is not very efficient. And I feel like the better and better I get at, you know, my craft, the more sure and less photos I have to take and know when to take them as well. Sorry. So I think that's a really big thing. I was shooting for a realtor recently, and she's like, oh, can you take a picture of this? And I was like, snap. And then she's like, wow, you're confident. Because I just, you know, like a lot of people would be like, click, 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 you know, click, click. But yeah, like if I just know everything's dialed in, it just takes one shot. So yes, I'm not a big fan of going through millions of photos. Yeah. Yes? Do you print any? Yeah, so at one point I did do a bunch of prints. My mom was very supportive in that starting out. I had some prints in Alderwood Bistro for a while, and then it was a little bit expensive. Let me say, there was a little bit more overhead than I kind of liked. Doing like real estate and advertising, there's like gas money and like, you know, the equipment. But with printing and because I did a lot on like canvas and like metal, so it was a little bit more expensive. So every once in a while, somebody will ask me, hey, like, will you do a print with this? And I'll totally do that. I would say recently not as much, but every once in a while, yeah.
With a home printer, or do you?
I usually go through a company. It's White House Custom Color. They just do really good, high quality work, and they print on metal, which is really cool if you haven't seen that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Just a comment. The wedding I was at this spring, we're in a building in the reception, and Isaac's drone just comes into the reception unannounced and flies all around. Then out the door. It was really cool.
Yeah, I try not to hit people. So far, so good. Knock on wood. I haven't had any crazy drone deaths or anything like that, so I'm mostly safe. I have my pilot's license, so I'm all official like that, so it's all good. But yeah, it is. I feel like the FPV drone, once people see it in action, it's so different from like the Mavic or anything. They're like, wow, like what is that? And there's not. I feel like it was crazy because Apple just recently came out with their like iPhone 13 new commercial, and there was a bunch of FPV shots in it. And I'm like, they're catching on. So it's a very unique perspective, and I'm really glad. Actually, it was cool. The fastest pilot in the world, Alex Vanover, he actually commented on that Rainier video, and he was like, "This is one of the best like FPV cinematic videos ever." I'm like, "Wow, thank you." But yeah, it's I think it's starting to become a little bit more popular. There's this guy that I was actually inspired from originally. His name is Johnny FPV, and he's like insane. Like if you think my stuff's like pretty good, like he's just a totally different level. And he's the one who actually got me into it. And he like just recently like worked on like this huge blockbuster video doing like an FPV shot into this action scene. So it's becoming more of a normal thing to incorporate into bigger Hollywood productions and whatnot. So which is cool to see. So yeah. Yes.
What's your dream location that you'd like to go shoot?
Oh, that's a tough one. Let's see. I've been to Iceland. Iceland was a huge one for me. I really loved that. Bali was also a huge one. My next spot. So I haven't been. I'm planning a road trip right now to go to Arizona, Utah, some parts of California. To go visit like Zion and Arches and stuff. So I actually wanted to stay kind of local. This spring I'm doing a month road trip. I built a camper for my Toyota Tacoma, and so we're gonna kind of live in that for about a month and just go travel to different national parks and take some pictures and video. But other than locally, because I think the US is just incredible, I'm like, why am I going to all these faraway places when so much is so great here? So I kind of want to do some road trips. Plus with COVID, it's a little bit more challenging to get to all these places, and yeah, I want to go to New Zealand. That's a really big one, and then probably somewhere maybe like Fiji or like somewhere tropical too would be pretty cool. But yeah, I have a Google Maps that has like tiny little stars everywhere, which is kind of cool to see. So whenever I see a photo. And like, you know, people either disclose the location or they don't. If I really like it, I'll like dig. I'll dig for like hours and hours. And like if I find it, I'll put a star in my Google Maps to say like, okay, I need to go here one day. So I have like tons of stars around like the globe, basically. Yes.
But you mentioned you can't shoot everywhere with your drone, right?
Yeah, exactly. So when I started the whole like drone photography thing, there were very little rules. You could fly in national parks, you could fly like kind of anywhere, and then people started flying into the White House, and that kind of ruined it for everyone. So yeah, now you're technically not allowed to fly in national parks, which I really don't. You're supposed to stay 400 feet AGL, which is above ground limit. You're supposed to stay away from airports. There's a ton of these little regulations that you have to legally do. You can't actually fly a drone and get paid for it legally unless you have your Part 107 pilot's license. So, yeah. Yes?
Pilot license, is that something specific for drone?
Yeah, so initially when it came out, if you had your private pilot's license, you could also, that would qualify into the same thing. Right now, I think you do have to have your Part 107 certificate in order for you to technically charge for drone work. When everything came out, it was like really gray area. And in fact, even the Part 107, it's basically like a private pilot's license. And I had to know like a ton of different physics about airplanes just to pass the test. So it seemed like they kind of slapped on a lot of information for private pilot's license onto the drone thing because it was so new. I think they were just getting flooded. So many people buying these drones because China's mass producing them, and like everyone has a drone up in the air, so they try to kind of limit it fast. So I think within time going on, there's going to be much more specific regulation. So yeah. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate